Found this in the bushes here, an old bridge. Those of you who follow my channel may recall about a year ago, I did a video titled Abandoned Roads, Bridges and the Old Cholera Hospital in Johnstown, St. Thomas. Now looking back, I have come to realize that the remains of the structures that were still visible was indeed the remains of the old Cholera Hospital. Another piece of the wall right here. Yeah. But I can find some of this, so I go up there. Them literally dig it out of the wall, out of the banking. Why them do that? I don't know. As you notice, the wall still goes across, but it seems that much like the ground before them dig it out, because that's construction going straight across. So one piece of wall right there, so two peeps. Alright, that's right there. Yeah, man. But however, down here, them dig everything. Recently, whilst researching historical records, I came across some interesting information that I did not know existed at the time. Now, I want to share my findings and this part of our forgotten history with you. I'll begin with a question. How many of you are aware that Jamaica once had a serious cholera outbreak that took over 40,000 lives? For a small island that was hardly densely populated at that time, Jamaica's cholera death toll was way out of proportion. Consider this. 40,000 deaths would have been 1/10 of the island's population of 400,000 at that time. This figure was considered alarmingly high at the time, so much so that it was noted that only a few countries hit by the cholera epidemic at the time surpassed Jamaica's cholera death rate. There is a 74-page book on Jamaica's last cholera outbreak in the early 1850s. This book can be found in the United States National Library of Medicine, the digital collection. The book also mentioned an outbreak of cholera in neighboring Haiti. It goes on to say there was rainy days ahead, implying that more outbreaks of infectious diseases could well be looming on the horizon. This book also refers to a publication from London in 1852 titled Epidemic, Cholera in Jamaica. The author, John Parkin, MD, appears to have been a medical doctor during those oppressive British colonial days. He was specifically dispatched to Jamaica to deal with the rampant cholera outbreak. According to John Parkin, the cholera outbreak started in Port Royal on October 8, 1851, and then spread across the Jamaican population within a few weeks. He suggested that a third of the population of Jamaica had died of the disease. Prior to the outbreak in Jamaica, there had been an outbreak of the disease in Panama sometime previously. It was therefore decided that the disease had been imported into Jamaica by one of the American steamers on their voyage from the port of New York. However, this was purely speculation, as there wasn't sufficient evidence at the time, for cholera appears to have been prevalent right across the world. So how did cholera find its way into Jamaica to have claimed 40,000 lives? Let us take a look through our mind's eye for a moment and picture the scenes at that time. Imagine the amount of comings and the goings on Jamaica's shores, the grasping explorers, brutal plantation owners and the cruel depraved slave masters, not to mention the numerous ships and their crews entering our shores during that tyrannical colonial era. You get the picture? This deadly disease could have reached Jamaica through any one of these channels. Well, not this channel. If you find this video interesting and want to support my research, there are links below. Or you can like this video so YouTube recommends it to others like yourself who are history lovers. According to the book I mentioned earlier, the outbreak of cholera in Jamaica appeared to have been part of a second cholera pandemic, which was known as the Asiatic cholera during the years 1829 to 1851. Further, cholera appears to have reached Europe, including London and Paris in 1832, 22 years before it appeared in Jamaica. So it could be assumed that the disease arrived in Jamaica through the British colonial blackguards and not the USA, as Parkin's writings suggested. In the report mentioned earlier, Parkins made a detailed account of the Jamaican cholera outbreak during his travels around the island treating patients. He wrote that from Port Royal, the place where the first cases of the disease was identified, the disease spread rapidly to Kingston, where it went on to infect and kill 6,000 people. Parkin was clearly a prudent man, in that he took great pains in his judicious notes, notes that have led to in-depth information that I had been searching for over a year now. He wrote that cholera prevailed in Kingston in a severe form for about 6 weeks, alluding to the fact that the outbreak was far more concentrated in the Kingston area. He further noted that during that period, the disease spread with unusual speed to other parts of the island. He further documented that the first fatal case in Kingston occurred on the 11th and on the 19th of October. There were 3 deaths in the adjoining parish of St. Catherine. He went on to describe that on the following day, possibly meaning the 28th of October, a Dr. Palmer of Spanish Town, who in conjunction with 4 other practitioners had made a post-mortem of one of the bodies, he was attacked and died in a few hours. He did not state what Dr. Palmer was attacked by, but I don't think the disease would have killed him in a few hours. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. The death toll from cholera spread rapidly to Spanish Town, the capital of Jamaica at the time. There, 30 people died on October 20. Parkin noted that cholera continued its destructive trail in the city until the end of November. He went on to say that only a few towns have been more severely visited than the capital of Jamaica, noting also that the disease had spread widely to St. Thomas, some 30 miles to the east of Kingston, at the same time it arrived in Spanish Town, and from these points, cholera spread east, west, and south. By the end of November, cholera had spread to every part of the island, with the exception of Manchester in the center of the island, and the parishes of Westmoreland and Hanover at the western and northwestern extremity of the island. In 1857, Parkin wrote in his observations that the essential symptoms of cholera he observed were the collapsed countenance of his patients and the blueness of the body, particularly in Europeans. He further wrote that these symptoms were scarcely noticeable in the Negro, like him couldn't say the local population. The other symptoms were shrunken fingers, wrinkled or shriveled skin, and total suspension of all secretions, possibly meaning bodily fluids, particularly the biliary, fecal, and renal, with icy coldness of the extremities and tongue, and arrest of the circulation with total cessation of the pulse. I think this means death. Let me know in the comment section down below. It appeared that Parkin had great difficulty getting drugs to treat the many patients who were all victims of this deadly disease. He complained about shortages of drugs and supplies and just a great difficulty in getting the correct medical supplies. It appeared, however, that he wasn't short of resourceful ideas. This doctor quickly learned to make do with what was available to him. Parkin wrote that the treatment administered for treating cholera cases was the different forms of carbon exclusively adopted in this instance. Carbonic acid gas produced by mixing bicarbonate of soda and lime juice. A simple solution of the gas in water commonly labeled soda or seltzer water. He complained that although the treatment worked, the items could not be obtained in the districts where he was engaged. I can only imagine the horrors our ancestors endured during another of Jamaica's difficult, brutal, and unjust past, at the hands of first the Spanish, then the barbaric British. Well, it's almost 2 centuries now. Our ancestors are sleeping in peace, and them barbaric people are dead. We might as well move forward. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.